Mr. Knuuttila, the Nichols and Stone Furniture Company,
Yes.
which has been building furniture in our district for 246 years and is the oldest furniture company in America, is closing at the end of the month.
Right.
It is the last furniture manufacturer in Gardner, which was once home to at least 18 furniture manufacturers.
Right.
What should the state's role be in helping local businesses like Nichols and Stone stay open in the current economy?
It's been hard to track what's been going on with H&R 1871 when decisions made up on high by Remington and Marlin affect corporations like the closure of 1871, H&R 1871, which employed 300 people. Nichols and Stone, and I remember Gardner when I was coming up from Fitchburg and working at Parker Glass and seeing the restaurants fill up by Haywood Wakefield employees. Nichols and Stone, Tuck Nichols wanted to move what was left of his company down to the old Simplex plant on Cross Street. But because he wasn't increasing his employees by a single employee, he was offered no help from the Mass Office of Business Development, MOBD, because he wasn't increasing one job. But Tuck Nichols, being Tuck Nichols, wanted to make that company survive. But he got nothing from the state because of the rules and the guidelines that are in place. And finding out about these issues ahead of time so the state can come in and help employees and employers stay open is the principal issue I think we need to concern ourselves with. These companies that own these wholly owned subsidiaries that make decisions in Ithaca, New York, and Michigan, there has to be a direct communication between the highest elected officials in the Commonwealth and these companies that move in and close these viable organizations and institutions.
Thank you. Representative Flanagan, same question.
I think it's important to note that doing business in Massachusetts today is very different than doing business in Massachusetts even 10, 20 years ago. I've been fortunate in my time in the legislature to work alongside Lieutenant Governor Murray and visit some of the businesses around the district and talking to them about what it is they need and how it is that we can help them as a state. It's true. Some of the regulations are outdated. Some things need to be addressed. One of the highest costs of doing business right now is energy costs. That is said across the board, whether you own a furniture company, you own a plastics company, or you own any type of a manufacturing company or medical devices. The state has the ability to go out and proactively talk to these businesses. In my time in the legislature, I've talked to many business owners who have certainly said that they need help and can they get services from the state government. We are doing that. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. Everything's going to take time. I mean, you can't single-handedly change someone's business overnight. But the truth is that between the Mass Office of Business Development, the Lieutenant Governor, the Governor, we are working to work alongside these companies, and we are working to try to keep them here. This isn't about going around the country and trying to bring in new businesses. It's about trying to keep the businesses that we've had here. And as having small businesses in my family, I know it's tough to do that. And that's why I'm going to work very diligently to make sure that these businesses can remain in Massachusetts.
Thank you.
There's another facet to that, Robert, if you allow a rebuttal.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Simon Soren Steel in Fitchburg just got a $1.3 billion more grant. And that's because we found out that they were going to move 75 good-paying jobs south of the Mason-Dixon line. That type of communication needs to happen with institutions and businesses outside the Commonwealth. The only reason we found out is because the international headquarters of Simon Soren Steel is in Fitchburg. That's the only reason we found out. That needs to be extended to those companies and international companies that make the decisions that affect us directly here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Flanagan, there are dozens of family farms and stables in Sterling, Lancaster, and across the district. What do you see as the most pressing issues facing farmers in Sterling and the rest of the district?
First of all, I think it's important to know that, agriculture is one of the most important businesses that we have in Massachusetts. And it is something that has been producing goods for generations. My family owns a farm in Sterling on Flanagan Hill Road, and it had been operational, and now I understand that it's now a business. But I think one of the biggest problems that we have, especially in the agriculture industry, is really trying to keep the industry alive. It's the rules and regulations that are really tying the hands of a lot of these farmers. There are so many different ways that we talk about agriculture, whether it be the wineries or whether it be produce or whether it be livestock. And that's really what needs to happen, is we need to look at each individual facet of that, and we need to work with them. I've heard from many winery enthusiasts that they can't sell their wines up here in central Massachusetts when they're out on the Cape, because there's the distribution laws that they can't get by. People should be able to sell what they have whenever they have it. We also have many farms who are looking to donate goods to different organizations, and it's tough because they're not making the money that they used to because of the cost of energy and the cost of fuel and how it takes to transport those. So I think it's important, and we are looking at some of the issues, and I have talked to many of the agriculture people, and it's really an overhaul business that we need to take action on.
Thank you. Mr. Knuuttila, same question.
Thank you. To assist farmers in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts today, state mechanisms like the Interstate Milk Compact needs to be continued, and our involvement with the Interstate Milk Compact needs to be continued so that people who produce milk and dairy products in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, like the Cherry Hill Farm that's still marginally operational in North Leominster, need to have the type of state support that they've had for several years. Recently, the Philbin Farm, land off of Chamberlain Road, there's been an application to put that into APR land, agricultural preservation land, and the monies that are needed from the state are limited to $350,000. That's something I think maybe the state should take a look at in increasing, because like the Tuttle farms that were also placed into APR land, that preserves for the generations ahead apple farms and other type of agricultural interest and conservation efforts. I also know a gentleman in Tingsboro. His name's Gus Scamrich, and he raises bees. And without bees, you're not going to have the crops that really, quite frankly, provide a third of our produce, apples in Bolton. And there's a virus that is killing off these colonies now. And the state, really, quite frankly, isn't interesting themselves in experts like Gus Scamrich. And something like that needs to be directly addressed. Thank you. I see time. Thank you.
Thank you.